meeting is being recorded.
She told us twice. That was pretty wild. Did you hear it twice?
Yeah.
So hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Qumulex Radio. This is, I believe, episode number 8. With me, as always, is my friend and coworker, Aaron Newman. And we also have Jared Smith from Infinite Systems, I believe, in Illinois.
Yep.
Is that near Peoria, where you are?
That's exactly right where we're at, right smack dab in the middle of the country, or pretty much the middle of the country, definitely the state.
I'm really proud of myself because oftentimes when I go to the store and they ask me what my zip code is, I don't even remember. So, got to work really hard to remember where everybody is. But no, all joking aside, really glad you're on. You are guest number 1, which is a great blessing and curse.
Absolutely.
So no pressure, but it better be awesome. I mean, come on.
No promises. No promises.
You got to crush it or nobody else will want to come.
Right, exactly.
No, just kidding. So I'm really excited. I'm also really excited that our first guest is an integrator. So I feel like I'm always on here kind of, speaking for you, but based on probably old data at this point. I've been over on this side of the house for, a decade or so. So one of the things that I'm really kind of curious about is, there were all kind of changes from, and things are always changing, but we had sort of a way of life leading up to the pandemic. And then I feel like all kinds of things changed during that time. And now we're kind of, I feel like in that post-pandemic, and just kind of curious, like what kind of verticals, like what type of customers are you seeing a lot of activity with now? And, has that changed from what you were seeing kind of in 20 and 21?
Yeah, we're kind of new to we're a newer business. We haven't been established for 20, 25 years like a lot of integrators have been. I've been blessed to be able to be a part of this. I'm kind of late in the game. My business partner, Dave, has definitely been a huge asset. We got that, that love-hate relationship with salesmen and then also the actual technical guys. I'm the sales guy and I promise all kinds of stuff. And he's like, Jared, how am I supposed to figure that out? I don't know, but you do. It's that love-hate relationship, But so we're a little new to the game. We got started right before COVID. We've been going strong for about 7 years now. And so we were just getting our business up and running. And then COVID hit and we're like, whoa, what's going on?
Right.
And it dried up for us a little bit because we didn't have that market share that a lot of your other integrators had. There's some great integrators in our area that have been around a really long time and they were swamped, but they've been around a really long time. So it was a struggle for me to get out there and talk to people that needed to talk to. And as you know, now that we're on a call like this became the staple for a year and a half, 2 years. People have completely changed the way they did things, and not to beat a dead horse because everybody knows this. So it was a struggle for us. Now that post-COVID, I'm still seeing that there's still people working remotely. So it's made it somewhat of a challenge for businesses. They see the need that they have to invest in security for their property, what's going on the inside of the building, access control, all that good stuff. But they're trying to juggle it. How much do we spend? Because are we going to still need this building the size that we need it now? So that's been a struggle for us, is to make sure that we articulate to them that, hey, it's protecting your investment, whether there's people here or not. And I think even more so because it takes something always happens and then you're like, man, I wish we would have had this. And then it's an emergency.
Yeah.
Up and running.
Unfortunately, I mean, it's very easy to say, well, yeah, you should always think ahead, but they are trying to balance a lot of things in their decision making. Like you said, it's not always just about the budget they have now, but like, what does the future look like for them?
Absolutely.
And just as an aside, and I feel kind of hypocritical saying this, I've been sort of a work from home before it was cool. When I made the transition to here, I've always kind of been remote to wherever the home office is. And like the fact that Indiana, where I'm at now, is only a few hours away versus like California or New York, some of the other places I've been. But I mean, do you really, all my years as an integrator, I mean, I always went to the office every day.
Yeah.
And there was kind of a mix of people who already knew what they were doing. I mean, I suppose they could have transitioned to work from home, and maybe they just kind of know how things work, but holy cow, like what are the people coming up going to do? I mean, I understand it is nice working from home. I play it off a lot to my wife so that she doesn't do it too. So otherwise that
Right.
desk will get busy. But I, it's nice and I get that, but also, man, I don't think I would know what I know. I don't know that I could have advanced my career the same
Right.
way. I don't know that I could have gotten up to speed. We've talked about online training and the benefits of that, but at the
Yeah.
same time, if all of your high school and junior high and everything you did was all online, I mean, how would you even make any friends or build the relationships that you build? I mean, am I the only one that questions whether all of our society can just be totally remote all the time and the younger generation can learn?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a place for remote learning. I think, for people that are older like us, and if you're wanting to pursue an education, trying to juggle all that and go to classes, it's really, really
Right.
difficult. Um, I'm considered an old fart now, and um,
Felt that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I see that the phones and the computers and all of that stuff is super beneficial. It's super helpful and it makes life easier. And sometimes it's a blessing, or it's a huge blessing, but sometimes it's a curse, I think. But I think the challenges are these younger generations is they can't have a good conversation one on one, look a person in the eye, and develop that
Yeah.
conversation. And as an integrator, it's not just important for your sales team to be able to have that communication and articulate what you need to articulate and have conversations. It's also for the HR people. It's also for your guys that are in the field that are actually doing the
Yeah.
work. You can't just be a tech geek and in there, running the cable and doing all the software programming and aiming the cameras and doing everything that needs to be done and not be personable. Um, it's all of what I've learned in a short time on earth. It's all about the relationships, and
Yeah.
you have to be able to develop those relationships. And it doesn't start with just the owner of the company. It trickles all the way down. Whether your employees see that or not, it's up to you to articulate that to them. But I think it's super important for the guy that's in the field. And you knew because when I listened to a couple of your guys' other podcasts,
Uh-huh.
um, it's important. You learn
Uh-huh.
what you learn to be able to articulate that. Now you're sitting behind the desk and you're having meetings and things like that. Now you can articulate that and have that conversation. So uh,
Yeah, and it's a
I think we're
double-edged
missing that.
sword. So
Yeah,
it's nice, it's convenient. I think we should never be angry at people for wanting to have more work-life balance and be happier and be able
right.
to walk their dog or whatever it is that they do. I actually never leave this office, so I don't know
Yeah,
what all that fuss is about this balance. I feel like I work more, but what I worry about, and I think in certain industries, and ours is one of those, we were
mhm,
the I don't remember the term for it, but they were like priority people, which was another way of saying not you, you have to go out there.
yeah,
So we can't just do everything from home. There was
right.
a term for it. I had other ones that weren't as friendly, but there were all of us regular Joes, that have to go out there and work because you can't work on a ladder remotely and do the things that you do. But what about like the people that are like, like you said, HR, like what about the marketing people? What about the people who work it for a CPA or all these other types of career paths? My wife works for a bank, you know,
Yeah,
if they transition that, and I see on one hand where that work, a lot of it could be done remotely. And so maybe that sounds good, but it sounds good to people our age, or maybe 10 years younger, whatever, where you're kind of established. I mean, it doesn't seem like a fair shake in life. Like, how are you ever going to learn from anyone? How are you ever really going
mhm,
to get it? You can't
absolutely.
really rely on just timed feedback. I mean, you kind of get feedback all throughout the day. So I knew
Yep.
when I was coming up that most everything I did was wrong because all day long, everybody would shake their head at me and make a face. I don't get that through an
Yeah,
email. So,
yeah.
that
And you
really
can't
helped me
you can't
grow.
get you can't get tones
Yeah,
through an email or text messages. It's really easy to misinterpret what somebody's saying, is what I found out.
true.
Um, so unless you really,
Yeah.
really know that person, it's very difficult hear all those underlying tones and what somebody
Yeah.
actually means.
It's
So.
risky having a sense of humor through an email.
Yes.
Very risky.
Yes, indeed.
Your son just recently joined the industry, didn't he?
Yes, that's you guys saw my post then. I'm not this is the first social media that I've had is LinkedIn. I don't have Facebook, I don't have Instagram.
Right.
It's a distraction for me. From what I'm supposed to be doing. So I got LinkedIn because I saw a need. I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
I need to have that for business contacts and things like that. He's 16. We homeschool, so it's great in that respect. He'll come in the afternoons and help us work. He doesn't want, as of right now, he doesn't want to work the business for the rest of his life. He wants to be a police officer. So I'm like,
This
okay,
is eerie.
yeah, I know, right?
Same. Yeah. My dad was
Especially
a police
when
officer, and I went through
yeah,
that same thing, working as a
well,
kid in a family business, and I
yeah,
wanted to be a cop. That's what I was
yeah,
going to do.
and I'm a fireman, so I work real closely with
Mhm.
hopefully not for much longer. I'll be able to retire, but I see what these poor guys and gals deal with, and I'm like, oh, but I don't want you to have to go through some of the stuff that you have to go through. But um, all that to say is, it's like you need to learn something else besides
Yeah.
just doing what you're doing. So he's jumped in both feet. There's always that tension, between father and son.
I do.
But my business partner Dave, he'll go and I just let Dave take it, and Dave will look at me and say, I don't know what to say to him. I'm like, you just treat him like an employee, and and
Yeah.
stuff in some respects. So he knows that we're trying to woo him over to be a part of the business. We're going to try and make it better, for him here, to where maybe he doesn't want to leave. But I support him 100% in what he does, and if that's the route that he chooses, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Now I got off onto a tangent and I forgot what your initial question was, but
I was
yes.
curious if he talked to you about his perspective, on kind of, getting started and what his perspective was
Yeah.
with that. And I mean, I'm sure it's,
Well,
kind of like any entry level job in the security, you're probably
right.
pulling wire, you're installing
Yep.
devices. So it's like,
He hates to pull wire, just like I hate to pull wire. Just like actually, I met a guy when I was on vacation last week that loves to pull wire, and I'm like, man, you want to come work for me? Because it's one of those necessary evils. You have to do it. Wire's always better than wireless, and stuff like that. But he's learning to pay attention to detail, which, if you want to be a police officer, you got to learn to pay attention to detail. The military, anything in life, you
Yeah.
have to pay attention to those details. And he's a quick learner, and I think a lot of kids his age or in their early 20s are gonna be quick learners because they're not old like us, and they don't have their brain all filled up with all kinds of other nonsense that makes it difficult. um, and he's like, Dad, I'm bored with pulling cable. Well, as you saw in some of those pictures, he was helping Dave with the access control panels. This is a huge job for us. We beat out one of the big dogs in Peoria because it goes all the way back. You develop that relationship with the customer to begin with. And I know this isn't a commercial for Qumulex or anything like that, but maybe someday we can talk about how I found Qumulex. But we've been super happy with them. I've always
Oh, thank you.
it's been really hard. You guys have been great. Your customer service is top notch. You're always there when you have a question, and I'm really excited about what you guys have to offer. So he transitioned to help Dave that big mess of wires that you saw that I looked at and
Yeah.
go, man, I'm glad you know what you're doing, Dave, because I don't have a clue. I'll go back to changing out the readers, which is the easy part. And he loved it. He caught on, and he's doing it all, and he's paying it, doing all the stuff, and he's taking criticism and or constructive criticism, that is. But it's funny because there's been times where he ran cable, and it comes back to the cable management. It's an art, and Dave is very meticulous about it. And we
Right.
should be, because it's showing who your company is. And he messed something up one day, and he goes, I'm sorry. And Dave goes, I'll make sure I do it next time. And Dave goes, no, you're going to pull it all out, and you're going to do it the right way. And he goes, seriously? You know how long that took me to do that? And Dave goes, pull it out and start it all over. Super frustrated. Any other person that works for you is going to be super frustrated. But if they're looking at that big picture, it's a resemblance of them too, as the actual guy out in the field climbing the ladders, doing the work. So
Yeah.
he's done really, really well, Aaron. I hope that answered your question.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
He's liking it. I just think, he's got that vision of wanting to be a police officer, but I'm like, hey, bud, you're 4 years away before you can even apply. So let's make it work now for you and make some money to set yourself up for success in the future.
That's what did it for me. I already had a full swing. I had a house. I was,
Yeah.
making good money and had already advanced. And I think really when you grow up doing things, you're kind of already in that mode of, you want to learn. And I think when you're younger, you find a way to enjoy the work.
Yeah.
I think as an adult, a lot of people don't do that. And I think they kind of see, like, my wife is, I have to start work now and then I get to stop work here. And if somebody emailed her at 9:00 at night, like, she's never going to know. That's not what she's into. And me, I kind of grew up where work was really kind of, I worked with family. We had a lot of fun doing it. We also fought a lot, all those things that you mentioned. And I remember I mislabeled a whole patch panel one time, and I would, well, actually what he did is he berated the people that let me mess it up in front of me, so that I had to deal with the fact that I got them in trouble.
Yeah.
And I
bet you never did that again, did you?
I never wanted to mess up again. I felt so bad for them. But they got me because we used to take pull string and we'd run a big lead of it and we'd put electrical tape on the end of it. Mm-hmm. And then you pop a number of tiles, and then we already had hooks or supports up. And I got hit in the back of the head more than once. They're on the rest of that project. So they got me back. But so, I mean, just curious. I mean, we've only got a couple minutes here before I know you've got a commitment. And thank you for coming on. I'm really enjoying this. This is a lot of fun. So, like we kind of mentioned, what verticals or what type of customers, and that led to a really great conversation. Before we go, I am just really kind of curious, like, what are the big problems that customers are trying to solve right now? I mean, are they saying, hey, I want an access control and video solution that works together, not separate? Are they saying, I want it to be easier? Are they looking for certain features or functionality? Like, what are you seeing?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's lots of, I think people are still kind of in the mindset a little bit of the standard NVR. You've had a VMS system that it's been around for ages. I wasn't a huge proponent of it because in the market that we're in, it's hard to spend the money. It's hard for some of these companies to spend the money. If I'm up in Chicago or St. Louis or a big, huge city, these businesses are used to paying that top dollar for a good quality product. I mean, there's a lot of great VMS software programs out there. So it's interesting because I kind of prejudge. I'm like, oh, it costs this much money. But our very first, when we came to Qumulex, our very first sale was a small school that has 150 people. We built that relationship with them, and they're like, they wanted access control. And we're like, we got the perfect plan for you. And they did it, and they didn't even hesitate 1 second. I was like, wow, am I prejudging myself on how, the product that we have to offer? So I think for me, that's a struggle for me to kind of get around, is to convince a customer, hey, this is the reason why you need this. Yes, it may be expensive up front, but in the long term, it's going to save whoever you have managing the system, whether it's a security company or if you have a SOC, or if you're just a small company with 50 employees, it might be your IT guy. You're going to make their life so much easier, having everything encompassed into one project, your VMS, your access control, and soon to be other types of AI, and possibly robotics in the future, and stuff like that for a company. I mean, that's huge, and it's kind of a one-stop shop, and I love that. So for me, that's been a struggle getting past my own mind on how to do that. But people are looking for alternatives. We're in a world now where everything has become real simple for everybody to do themselves. So I really loved your guys's first episode where you talked about integrators, because I struggle. I'm like, okay, are we going to be around in 10 years? I don't know, because they've made it really easy for cameras and stuff like that. but you guys helped change my mind a little bit more, and seeing the value of that, because you, Josh, have been on both sides of it.
Mhm.
And so you understand how that kind of works. And Aaron had some great points that he put in there, and why they're important. So what they're seeing is they want all the options of being able to navigate things easily, navigate it from their phone easily when they're remote, or their computer remote,
Mhm.
be able to do the access control all in one login and password. So you can revoke privileges, you can add privileges, you can give a contractor a temporary access, and finding it simple. And that's what we liked about Qumulex, is being a new company. They have all that in one spot. And I know, kind of just from talking with Carrie, my sales rep and stuff, what your guys' plan of attack is for the upcoming
Mhm.
years. And it's super exciting. And I think customers are going to look at that and go, that's what we need. You made it easy. You can access it anywhere. The security is top notch. And you're giving us lots of options that we can pile on top of just being a VMS access control company. So I really like what Qumulex is doing. I like what their vision is. I know the leadership of the company has built other big companies before,
Mhm.
and so they know how to do it. And now they're seeing that need on how to change with the times. So I think it's going to be great for integrators to get involved, um, and it's going to be great for the end customer to show that, hey, we can incorporate all these other things. You don't just have to have a standard NVR or this other access control company. Now you got to log into
Right.
all this stuff. There's lots of features that are going to make your life a whole lot easier. I hope that answered the question. Sometimes I get off on tangents, and
Tangents are great. And a big thing that I heard throughout there was easy.
yeah, yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, it's been a
easy.
learning
People
curve.
are
Don't get me wrong. We've had a huge learning curve,
Mhm.
transitioning to a new system. And Dave has been on the phone with, Josiah and guys like that have been amazing to help out. And if they don't know the answer, they say, I don't know the answer, but I'll find out for you. And they always do. So it's been a huge transition for us, but man, I think we're really, really liking what we're seeing, and how you guys integrate into things, and make it easy for the end user too.
Jared, we can't end a podcast any better than that. I think you've risen to the challenge of being an amazing first guest. We
Uh,
appreciate that.
you're too kind.
I heard your timer. I know we've kept you a little over, and I think you're running
No, no
late.
worries.
So we're gonna cut loose here. But thanks so much for coming on. You'll always be our first, and maybe we'll have you back on again sometime if you'd like.
I'd love it. I'd love it. Love it a bunch. Give you a bunch more updates of what's coming.
Sounds good. All right. And Aaron, thanks as always for joining, and we'll see everybody next time.